Alrighty, kids, this is homework help for Module 8, Lesson 10. And we are now going to be doing the difference between halves and thirds. Who could raise their hand and tell me how many equal parts does halves have? How many equal parts is that of a whole? Matt?
2.
Very good. Who could raise their hand and tell me how many equal parts will you have if you are breaking something into thirds? Ben B.
You'll have quarters.
How many equal parts will you have when you break something into thirds? Danny?
3.
3 equal parts in thirds. Very good. So, put your hand up and show me how many equal parts you'll have for half. Show me with your fingers. And thirds. Okay, very good. So let's look. Do the shapes below show halves or thirds? Now look at the shapes. Does this show halves or thirds? And so this is how you spell it, and you write it. Draw one more line to partition each shape above into fourths. Who could raise their hand and tell me how many equal pieces we'll have if we break something into fourths? Ryan?
4 equal parts.
Okay, so I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do it for all of them, just so you can see. Remember, I do a light line, and then I look, and then I go over it and make it a little darker. And so I make a light line, and then you look. This is not right. Is this part and this part equal?
No.
Man, it looks equal when I'm looking at it on the screen. It just doesn't look equal right here, but it looks fine to me, so. Okay, and then here, remember I do a light, because like if I do a light line and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. This is bigger than that. Then I can erase it, and then I'll put the line in a better spot, and I'm like, well, that looks pretty good. And then when I do my dark line, I could really make it straight. And then here I can go, I hear talking. This doesn't look like these are equal, so I can move it over a bit. And then when I put my dark line in, it's much more equal. You'll have a harder time because you're little, and you're just starting out. Okay, so you could choose, draw one more line to partition each shape above into fourths. So we got that done. Partition each rectangle into thirds. Shade the shapes as indicated. Okay, this is hard. Remember how I taught you how to fold your paper into thirds? You have to eyeball it. That's why you want to do light lines first. So I'm going to do my light lines. I'm going to put them in. Okay, what do I notice here?
The middle one's bigger than the
Great.
sides.
So now I have opportunity to move it over. How am I looking? Much better. That's why you do a light line first and then a dark line. I'm just going to go ahead and partition them all into thirds.
You're really supposed to do them if they show a number at the bottom, right?
No, but hold on. I want to show you what that's all about. Okay? And you want to try to get them as close as possible. Now, it says partition each rectangle into thirds. Did I do that? Yes. Shade the shapes as indicated. Here, I'm going to do 2/3. What that looks like when you write it in number form is a 2. We're going to shade 2 out of the 3 equal parts. So I'm going to shade this one, and I'm going to shade this one. 1/3. What that looks like when you write that in number form is it's 1 part out of the 3 equal parts. So I'm going to shade 1/3. And 3/3. What that looks like in number form is I'm going to shade 3 parts out of all 3 parts, which means what? How much of this shape am I going to shade? The whole thing, because 3/3 equals 1 whole. So I'm going to shade in the whole thing. Who's coughing like that?
Eddie.
Honey, you need to get a drink?
Ben.
Okay.
Addie and Ben.
Partition into, it says partition each circle into fourths. So how many equal parts am I going to have in these shapes? Who could tell me? How many equal parts will I have in these shapes? Ryan?
4.
Okay, so again, people, you could partition them, make your half mark first, and then you got to go back. And then you can partition them in many different ways. Doesn't have to be all the same. Doesn't have to be perfect, or you could do them all the same. It doesn't much matter. This one looks really big, so I'm going to bump this line down a bit. And this one looks really big now, so I'm going to bump this line over a bit. Or maybe if you just get so frustrated, since I've written light, I could just erase the whole thing and start again. And get maybe a straighter line. You guys are really smart about using your rulers with this. Okay. How many of these pieces am I going to shade in? How many?
1.
This is what that looks like in number form. 1 part of 4 parts. 1 out of 4. And I'm going to shade that in. 3 out of 4 equal parts. I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3. 4 out of 4 equal parts. How much of the shape am I going to shade in?
The whole thing.
Because if you have 4 out of 4 equal parts, that's equals to 1 whole. Are you noticing a pattern?
Yeah.
2 out of 2 equal parts equals a whole. 5 out of 5 equal parts equals a whole.
If it's 2 of the same number, you basically color in the whole shape.
Yes, sir. 2/4. Who could tell me what 2/4 is equal to?
A half.
Look. 1 part, 2 parts. If you divided this here, this is a half. 2/4 is also equal to 1/2. Okay? On here, woo! This is so awesome and fun. There's a tricky one. You'll be able to do all of these, okay? But this is where you're going to have a trick. You need to divide these into halves. You're going to have to divide this one into halves. Oh, that's a terrible line. I don't have my ruler, but you guys will. And then this one has to be divided into halves. Now I'm going to color in 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. So I have 1 and 1/2. Let me see some. Check, check.
Someone's holding down their thing to talk.
Huh. Okay. So, this is 1 and 1/2. That's how you write that. I shaded in 3 halves. This was divided into halves, and this was divided into halves. How many people ever go out for pizza with the team? Do you get 1 pizza?
I get like 2 slices.
I'm not asking that question. Let's answer the question that I asked. Do you get more than 1 pizza?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so this is just more than 1 whole, and we've colored in 3 halves. That's, ooh, goodness, tossed my pencil. Okay, people. The last one on homework is this. Split the pizza below so that Shane, Raul, and John have an equal share. So how many pieces do I need to split it into?
4.
So, and rather than shouting and lying down, can you crisscross and then show me with your fingers? Why 3, Stacia? If you can't answer this question, why 3 pieces? There are 3 people. Very good, sweetheart. So we have Shane, Raul, and John. Dividing a circle into thirds is tricky, people. I would suggest you do light lines. You could find a middle point like this. It helps. Okay?
That's a peace sign.
Yeah, it is a peace sign.
Wow.
Now you know. What fraction of the pizza did the boys get in all? Oh, it says label each student's share. So here's Shane. Here's Raul. And here's John. What fraction of the pizza did the boys get in all? What does in all mean?
Total.
Total. So what does that mean? We have to add them all together, right? So 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 1, 2, 3/3. What does 3/3 equal?
The whole thing?
The whole thing. All right, people, go back to your seat. And